Part 5. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 41. Chapter 41 Pregnant. Ning Dalong grabbed the stool, pointed at Ning 11 and threatened, Ning 11, don't be shameless and make me angry. Even if I tie you up today, I will take you to the hospital. Let me see who dares, a strong voice sounded outside the door. Almost everyone looked over subconsciously and saw the third grandfather appearing in the yard being supported by his son. Third grandpa, fifth uncle Ning 11 hurriedly stepped forward and helped third grandpa through the door. Third grandpa patted Ning 11's hand to express comfort. He stood still in the main room, his sharp eyes swept over the people present, and he immediately brought a chair for third grandpa to sit down. Grandpa Wu stood up and said, hello, brother 3, you are here. If I don't come, you can only bully Xiao 11, right? Fifth grandpa hurriedly said, there is no bullying, everyone just sits down to discuss the affairs of the Dalong family. Ning 11, who had been quarreling with everyone before, had a different look now, shedding tears of grievance. Grandpa third, they want to force me to donate my kidney to Ning Hong. Donate your kidney to Ning Hong, won't you yourself die? The third grandfather's anger has reached its peak at this moment. He glared at everyone with anger, you are trying to force Xiao 11 to death. Third uncle, how can we force Ning 11? Lu Shifen hurriedly stepped forward and explained, the doctor said that we have 2 kidneys in our bodies. Taking out 1 kidney will not have much impact on the body. Third uncle. Xiao Hong, her condition is indeed very bad, and we would not discuss kidney transplantation with Ning 11 unless we had no choice. Third grandpa glared at Lu Shifang, it doesn't matter. What does it do with 2 kidneys? It doesn't matter. Just donate your kidney to your daughter. If I were worthy of Xiahong's kidney, I wouldn't beg Ning 11. Shifang instantly felt aggrieved and sat down on the stool. She picked up her apron and started wiping her eyes. The palms and backs of my hands are full of flesh. If I hadn't been forced to, how could I embarrass Ning 11? You, Ning 11. That's your sister. She's not married yet. She's only 24 years old. If you don't donate a kidney to her, she will die. You, why is my family's life so miserable? It's okay to lose the man you love most at a young age, but now you still have this disease. Lu Shifang cried and beat her chest, ugh. I feel so uncomfortable. As soon as I saw her struggling on the bed in pain, I felt terribly uncomfortable. I wished I could help her bear this. Crying, Lu Shifang knelt down in front of Ning 11, kowtowing and praying, Ning 11, please save your sister. Please save her, I beg you. Third grandpa frowned, and was a little moved when he saw Lu Shifang rising like this. The child was also his child, and he couldn't bear to see that the child was not good. I'm pregnant. Ning 11 saw third grandpa's moved expression, and her eyes swept across the room full of people. You asked me to donate my kidney to Ning Hong. My child will die, and then all of you will die. The executioner who killed our mother and son. We are just discussing with you, not forcing you. Since you are pregnant, you will definitely not be able to undergo kidney donation surgery. Okay, Dalong, Xiao Hong is thinking of other ways. Grandpa Wu immediately stood up and walked outside. Ning 11 is pregnant with the child of the Lu family. If the child is really gone, the Lu family will definitely make trouble. Others also immediately started to back off. Yes. Dalong, let's find a solution for Xiahong's matter. Fart. Lu Shifang was so angry that she rushed over, pointed at Ning 11 and yelled, who in the village doesn't know that you had with Lu Nan just half a month ago, and you got pregnant in just half a month? 11, you are so vicious, you dare to tell such lies just to prevent your sister from having a kidney transplant. Pregnancy can be detected even half a month later. If you don't believe me, you can ask Grandpa Yang, an old doctor in the village. Ning 11 is carrying a child from the Lu family. If you want this child's life, go to the Lu family and ask if they agree. Xiao 11, let's go. The third grandfather put away all his emotions and pulled Ning 11 away. As soon as she walked into the yard, Ning 11 saw Lu Nan sitting and Lu Bei waiting outside. Lu Nan nervously grasped the armrests of his wheelchair with both hands, looking at the room with an angry and nervous expression. It wasn't until Ning 11 appeared in the yard that his expression became slightly better. Third grandpa gently patted the back of Ning 11's hand. That kid is almost nervous to death. He invited you here. A warmth spread in his heart. It was nice that he would be nervous about her. Third grandpa nodded, yes. When they came out, Lu Nan thanked third grandpa first. Third grandpa and fifth uncle, please come over. What's the trouble? It's the fault of those brats. A few people sent the third grandfather home together, and Ning Lao sent the three of them out. He suddenly remembered what Ning 11 said about her pregnancy before, and said with a smile, congratulations, Zionan, you are going to be a father. Lu Nan was stunned for a long time, and then the corners of his lips curled up into a faint smile. Thank you, Uncle Wu. I'm going to be a brother-in-law, haha, brother and sister-in-law. I'll go back and tell Dad and the others the news first. Lu Bei burst into laughter and ran away. On the quiet road, Ning 11 pushed Lu Nan and looked down at him to see if his reaction was too calm after knowing that she was pregnant. He doesn't like children? Or do you mean that you don't like her giving birth to a child for him? Because he was nervous before, she ran to ask third grandpa to come and save her. She was so moved, but now her heart became so cold. When Ning 11 returned home, she was surrounded by her two aunts and Chen Zheng. Zhou Hui asked with a smile, is what Xiao Bei said true? Wang Ziyukan asked nervously, is she really pregnant? Isn't it only half a month old? Yes. I just took my own pulse this morning. The first thing she does when she gets up every day is to take her own pulse. She wants to confirm whether she is pregnant as soon as possible. When she took her pulse this morning, she happened to find her happy pulse. It was very weak, but it is indeed a happy pulse. Very good. It's great, our Zionan has a daughter. Zhou Hui and Wang Ziyukan were so excited that they pulled up their aprons and wiped the tears from their eyes almost at the same time. When they went to the imperial capital to take care of Lu Nan, the doctor said that his legs were likely to affect his fertility. They knew how many times they had hid and cried, but now that Ning 11 was pregnant, the two of them were so excited that they couldn't help themselves. I'm going to stew the old hen at home to replenish Xiao 11's health. Wang Ziyukan immediately walked outside. Ning 11 wanted to stop. Second aunt, there's no need. Zhou Hui stopped Ning 11 and said, let your second aunt go, the old hen will be nutritious only after eating it. Lu Zhengai and his three brothers were also very happy, and the smiles on their faces never faded. Lu Nan was the first to ask, Xiao 11, did they ask you to go there because of Ning Hong's matter? Ning 11 did not return immediately, but asked, how did you know? End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 42. Zhou Hui explained at the side, it's your aunt Hua. She said that Ning Dalong invited all the elders in the family to her home. Lu Shufang called you back again. She was afraid that they would embarrass you and you came to the home to talk to us. Zionan, he said that Ning Hong is sick, and calling you back at this time may be to force you to come out with money to treat Ning Hong. Ning Hong needs a kidney transplant. They called me back to force me to donate a kidney to Ning Hong. Lu Zhengai frowned and said, donate a kidney? Isn't this nonsense? You need to be matched to donate a kidney. Only those who are a good match can be matched. Those who are not matched cannot undergo surgery. I've had an examination, and my kidney is the only one suitable for Ning Hong. Lu Nan also frowned, when did you do it? Ning 11 glanced at Lu Zhengai vaguely, 3 months ago, your mother pushed me against the door and broke my head. Lu Shufang took me to the hospital to draw blood while bandaging. Lunan's brows furrowed even more. In his previous life, he had always wondered how the Ning family knew that Ning 11's kidney was suitable for Ning Hong. He didn't expect that his biological mother was responsible for this. Lu Zhengai slapped his hand on the table, his whole face turned red. Is Yang Yufeng crazy? He has helped outsiders deal with his son and daughter-in-law again and again. Lu Zhenghua and Secretary Lu's faces were not very good looking either, but it was difficult to say anything. Zhou Hui patted Ning 11's arm. Don't worry, you are now a member of our Lu family. If they come to force you again, they will have to see if our Lu family agrees. Thank you, Auntie. Ning 11 pursed her lips and smiled, her heart was warmed once again. We are all from our own family, what nonsense are you talking about? Zhou Hui laughed and touched Ning 11's belly. A few people comforted Ning 11. Ning 11 was about to go to Secretary Lu's house to take a look at the production progress of the canned fruit. At this time, Chen Jing finally found the opportunity to congratulate Ning 11. Congratulations, Xiao 11. Chen Jing touched Ning 11's belly and said in a low voice, I heard that touching the belly of a pregnant woman can bring you good luck. Ning 11 quickly comforted her in a low voice, sister-in-law, don't worry, it will be fine. I'd like to lend you some good advice. Chen Jing winked at Ning 11 and changed the subject with a smile. By the way, those shirts you asked me to make are for Xiao Nan. Today Lu Nan is wearing the gray shirt that Ning 11 brought him last night. Chen Jing's eyes were glued to Lu Nan early in the morning. Of course, she didn't have any inappropriate thoughts about her brother-in-law, it was just that it was a simple occupational disease, and he took a fancy to the clothes on Lu Nan's body. Ning 11 smiled and nodded, yeah. I think the shirts he wore before were too big, so I want to make him something that fits him. Can I use that drawing of yours? I want to make another batch. Once I put the shirts you designed on Lu Nan, I suddenly felt that the shirts our family produced before were so ugly. Okay, sister-in-law, if you really like the shirts I designed, I can give you some suggestions. The styles of the shirts are mostly the same. Sometimes just making a few changes will have different effects, such as using better fabrics on the collar, access control, and cuffs. Adding adhesive lining will make it more textured and more advanced. After Ning 11 finished speaking, Chen Jing didn't say a word for a long time. She just stood quietly in the yard and thought carefully about Ning 11's words. Ning 11 did not bother her and looked at the cans that had been produced. The process of producing cans was not complicated. The most troublesome thing was peeling. Peeling each peel was too difficult. She remembered that consuming caustic soda can peel them. I just need to buy some condiments, so I will call the food supplier later to help deliver some. At this time, more than 70 bottles of canned fruits have been produced, and not even half of the apricots at home have been used. From this point of view, she miscalculated that 200 bottles would not be enough. Ning 11 went to a small shop and called to order caustic soda and condiments. She then called Chen Hai and ordered 10,000 glass bottles. Because there were more glass bottles this time, Chen Hai promised to help her with them tomorrow afternoon. The goods are delivered directly to Shanghe village. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lao Zhou showed up at Ning 11's house on time. Today he came on a cart converted from a bicycle. There were 4 baskets on the cart, 2 of which contained groceries. One contained 50 kilograms of spicy noodles, and the other contained 50 kilograms of spicy noodles. 50 pounds of dried fish. After helping to load the goods and sending Lao Zhou out, Ning 11 said with a smile, Brother Zhou, I made some canned apricots. Would you like to bring some to try? Canned, Lao Zhou frowned and shook his head. That thing is too expensive and no one in the village dares to buy it. I know, I plan to use these cans for food. No one is short of food, but what is the use of the recovered food? It cannot be sold at all. I have a way to cash in the recovered grain. Brother Zhou, I'm not selling this can to you. I want you to take it out in exchange for grain. If you sell a bottle, I'll give you 2 cents. Don't worry, if you can't sell it, just bring it back to me, I won't let you take any risks. 2 points, Lao Zhou raised 2 fingers. Isn't this about the same as the profit from selling spicy strips and dried fish? Ning 11 smiled and nodded, yes, 2 points. Sure, Lao Zhou immediately nodded and agreed. He could make money without spending money. He would be stupid to refuse such a good thing. Since it was taken out on the first day, Ning 11 only filled 30 bottles for Lao Zhou to try the water first. Although she didn't have to spend any money herself, Ning 11 still asked Lao Zhou to pay 10 yuan to her as a deposit. In the quiet night, the night breeze was blowing, and the sounds of some insects and frogs could be heard vaguely around. While helping Lunan get acupuncture, Ning 11 picked up a pen and quickly drew on the paper, the cart that old Joe was riding today. Gave her some tips. They need a car to haul grain to the town to exchange for money. They will also need a car when they move to the town and come back to pick up dried fish. You can buy an ox cart ready-made, but raising a cow is also a troublesome thing. Just replace the ox cart with a tricycle. When used as a small truck, there is no need to feed cattle. As she was drawing, she became a little depressed. There was still a shortage of bicycles. If she didn't buy a ticket, she would have to queue up in advance and wait for several months to buy one. Ning 11 thought of Lunan, so she put down her pen and turned to look at him, "Brother Nan." Yeah, Lunan was resting with his eyes closed. When he heard her calling him, he immediately opened his eyes to look at her. "Can you get a bicycle ticket?" He did not answer, but asked, "Want to buy a bicycle?" "I'm going to modify a tricycle to haul goods, just like the one Lao Zhou rides today, but his one is too bulky. I want to modify it into a lighter one. I don't have a bicycle ticket, but I know someone who has a bicycle. I will ask him directly tomorrow." "Yes, isn't this bad? Who wants to ask?" "Secretary Joe. Although Secretary Joe is doing well, it's too much to ask for it directly. A bicycle still costs more than 100 yuan. There's nothing wrong with it." "Fine. You said it's nothing, why should I feel embarrassed?" After reviving his life, Ning 11 became thicker-skinned, and immediately said with a smile, "If it really comes, you ask him to send it to the textile factory for me, and I will directly push it for modification. Give me the drawings tomorrow and ask him to send the car for modification." Ning 11 had black lines all over his head. He shamelessly asked someone for a car, and asked someone to help modify it. When did he become so thick-skinned? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 43. The time is up. Lunan glanced at his watch and saw that the time for the acupuncture was already up. Ning 11 stood up and took the needle for Lunan. Suddenly, Lu Shufang's words about Ning Hong losing her love came to mind. She immediately felt unhappy. She was unhappy. The unlucky one must be the instigator. Thinking of her pressing his leg. "Take a photo." Lunan groaned and looked at her in confusion. "Just give it a slap, you don't know the pain anyway," Ning 11 said slyly. After packing away the silver needles, she climbed onto the wooden bed and lay down with her back to him. Even though the two of them had a harmonious chat just now, it didn't mean that she wasn't angry. She was very concerned about the fact that he didn't like children. He turned off the light, lay down next to her, pulled her into his arms and turned around. He didn't like her turning her back to him, he didn't like it very much. "I don't want it," she refused without hesitation. Alas, Lunan sighed. After all, he didn't push her. He gently put his hand on her belly. "Is the child okay? Do you care?" she asked coldly. She moved and tried to get out of his arms, but failed. This man actually didn't like her baby. If she had known that he didn't like her, she should have divorced him in the first place. It's time to take the baby and leave him. What nonsense are you talking about? That's our child. How could I not care? Lunan lowered his head and lightly bit her neck. We made a lot of noise the day before yesterday. Is the child really okay? They are very good. Them. Lunan's reaction was quite big at this moment. He knew that she was pregnant with twins, a boy and a girl. The reason why Uncle Wu didn't react much when he said he was going to be a father at noon was because he had already known that he was going to be a father, and he didn't feel any excitement at that time. Now seeing his wife's appearance, he realized belatedly that she was angry because he didn't react at all, so when she took the initiative to mention that they had 2 children, he would deliberately give a big reaction, but don't let your little wife think that she doesn't love her 2 children. Yeah. It's too happy Vane seeing that he didn't really care. She finally showed her little woman face again and happily shared their baby with him. Daughter-in-law, you are awesome. Lunan praised her and kissed her on the face. I want to share another happy event with you. What? I have some feeling in my legs. Ning 11 quickly turned around and pinched her leg. Does it hurt? Lunan's expression froze, and he suddenly grabbed Ning 11's hand and pulled her hand away. You are pregnant. Am I unable to do anything? We were discussing his legs before, why did he suddenly say this? For it. She seemed to have touched something she shouldn't have touched. Ning 11's face turned red after she reacted. Ah! What is she doing? How could she do such a stupid thing? Go to sleep. Lunan gently touched her head. I'll be fine in a minute. His hand was so hot, it felt like she was melting into soup. If you accidentally touch him, he might have reacted too much. Although I felt in my heart that he was too much, Xia's Y went against the will of his brain and whispered uncontrollably, no, just be careful. Okay, you must be more careful as a husband. Someone suddenly became energetic and jumped on the red-faced little daughter-in-law like a hungry wolf. The whole room fell into a kind of tenderness. How did they know that the wind was blowing hard and the wind was freezing cold outside? On this day, Ning Wan's smiling face almost froze. She sent away the wedding guests and dragged her tired body back to the wedding room. Chen Haijun, who was chatting and laughing with others a second ago, was now sprawled on the wooden bed. There was a puddle of disgusting vomit on the bright red sheets. As soon as she entered the door, Ning Wan was hit by a pungent and unpleasant smell and covered her mouth and nose. When she saw the vomit on the bed, her whole face turned green. She rushed up and slapped Chen Haijun. Chen Haijun, get up. What are you doing? Chen Haijun opened his eyes to the west and glanced at her impatiently. Ning Wan covered her mouth and nose with one hand, pointed at the vomit on the bed with the other and shouted angrily, what are you doing? Look at what you have made of the bed. It's so dirty and smelly. How can you let me sleep on it? Chen Haijun glanced sideways at the sheets and slowly got up from the wooden bed. Who knows that as soon as he got up, his stomach was filled with a huge meal, and the food he ate at night was mixed with alcohol and squirted out. This time, it was not only on the sheets, but also on Chen Haijun's body. Full of vomit. Chen Haijun, why are you so disgusting? Ning Wan took a dozen steps back with a look of disgust on her face, and her stomach was filled with uncontrollable retching. Her move completely angered Chen Haijun. He stood up with a loud sound and rushed over to pinch Ning Wan's chin. Disgusting. No matter how disgusting I am still your man. He grabbed her chin and forced her to raise her head, lowered her head and blocked her mouth. The residual taste of vomiting instantly entered her mouth, making her so disgusting that she almost collapsed. Ugh, get out. Ning Wan was disgusted to death. She struggled hard and even scratched Chen Haijun's face crazily with her hands. Chen Haijun was scratched, so he let go of Ning Wan and touched his face. He immediately found a drop of blood in his hand. He raised his hand and slapped her with a slap on the ear. "How dare you hit me, you bastard! Chen Haijun, how dare you hit me? I'll fight for you." Ningguan had never received such treatment at home. Besides, Chen Haijun had always supported her in the past, and now he suddenly treated her like this. She couldn't bear it, so she pounced on Chen Haijun and bit her again. Scratch again. The two of them were fighting fiercely in the room. Father Chen and Mother Chen, who had already rested in the next room, heard the commotion and rushed over. Mother Chen opened the door and saw Ningguan biting her son's shoulder, and grabbed Ningguan angrily. "You lose money, you dare to hit my son, I won't kill you." Father Chen also yelled at the side, beat me hard, you are a shameless bastard, and you have the nerve to ask for a 200 yuan gift. If my son hadn't been crying to marry you, I would have allowed you to do these things. Come through the door of my Chen house. Hit me hard." The wedding room was in chaos for a while, and various items were smashed on the floor. Chen Haijun was already very strong, and coupled with Chen's mother, it didn't take long for Ningguan to be beaten. Mother Chen grabbed Ningguan's hair again. Chen Haijun rushed up and kicked Ningguan in the stomach. "Ah!" Ningguan let out a shrill scream and covered her stomach. At this time, Chen's mother panicked and quickly let go of Ningguan, helped Ningguan sit down on the ground, and scolded her son, "She is going to die. Why did you kick her in the stomach? Don't hurt the child. You bastard, if the child is gone, I will beat you to death." Chen's father rushed up and kicked Chen Haijun. "Why don't you borrow a car and take him to the hospital?" 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 44. After a while, Chen Haijun borrowed a bicycle. Ningguan was held on the horizontal bar in front of the bicycle. She was in so much pain that she couldn't sit still. Chen's mother brought a hemp rope and tied her to Chen Haijun, and then jumped on the back seat of the bicycle. With Chen Haijun rode out the door. As soon as the three of them left the village, it started to rain lightly. Ningguan felt a stream of heat flow out from under her body. She knew that the child in her belly would definitely not be saved. She gritted her teeth and did not dare to reveal a word. According to how hard the mother and son beat her, if she told them that the child was gone, even if they did not beat her, they would leave her outside to fend for themselves. Here Ningguan was rushed to the hospital in a hurry, and Ning Dalong and his wife also fell into low pressure. Ning Dalong sat on the wooden bed, smoking a dry cigarette one after another. Lu Shifen sat aside and cried. Ning Dalong picked up his hand and slapped Lu Shifen on the head. "That's enough. Keep crying and crying. My brain will hurt from crying." Lu Shifen looked at Ning Dalong with tears in her eyes. "What should I do? What should our family do? Tomorrow you go to the Lu family and beg her." "No, go and beg Lu Nan. Lu Nan will definitely not be able to let go of Hong Hong. If you go over and beg him on your knees, I don't believe that Lu Nan can really ignore Hong Hong until death." Lu Shifen stopped crying immediately, wiped her tears and sat next to Ning Dalong. After thinking about it, she asked worriedly, "What if Lu Nan refuses to help? After all, it is his child. He is willing. Lu Zhengai can agree. If you don't agree, then I'll force you." Ning Dalong's eyes flashed with a hint of cruelty. "I've raised her for 20 years, and it's nothing to give her a kidney." Lu Shufang nodded in agreement. "Yes, let's raise her up by pooping and peeing. Not to mention asking for a kidney from her, we should even take her life." Knock knock knock, a series of banging sounds on the door came from outside the house. Ning Dalong took a few puffs of the cigarette pole and hurriedly walked outside the house. "Here you go, what are you knocking on in the middle of the night?" Ning Erlong continued to knock on the door. "Brother, please open the door quickly." Ning Dalong opened the door and glared at Ning Erlong angrily. "What are you doing in the middle of the night? Lend me the old Zhang family's bicycle." Ning Erlong pushed Ning Dalong away and walked into the yard. that Chen Haijun sent Xiao Wan to the hospital. When he found out that Xiao Wan had a miscarriage, Chen Haijun and his mother just threw him away. Xiao Wan is gone. I just said that Xiao Wan can't be married. You have to let her get married. It's okay now, woo woo. He Hua covered her face and stood at the door crying. Ning Erlong pushed the car out and glared at He Hua fiercely. You still have the nerve to cry. If you hadn't taken care of her, how could she have done such a shameful thing? How could she have made trouble with her family over such a bastard? Now if something happens, you will know to contact your family, and you will know to look for me as your father. Ning Dalong spoke up to stop the couple from continuing to quarrel. Okay, let's go to the hospital first. No matter how angry you are, she is still your daughter. Can you leave her alone? Sure, I'll leave first. Ning Erlong got on the car and rode away immediately after He Hua got on the car. The rain was still falling. Although Ning Erlong was wearing a raincoat, his face was still drenched by the rain. He wiped the rain off his face and said, I'll go to the hospital later. Just shut up. Today if that girl dares to disobey me, I won't be able to spare her. He Hua also wiped the rainwater on her face. What are you going to do? Force her to break up with Chen Haijun. That Chen Haijun wants money but he is too lazy to do anything. The dead girl is following him. We can't get any benefits from him. If you don't tell me, you might even be blackmailed by Chen Haijun. He Hua asked with worry on her face, but they are already married, and Xiao Wan has had a miscarriage now. If we are really done with him, what should Xiao Wan do in the future? Let her marry the man your eldest sister talked about last time. It's okay if she's a little older, as long as she doesn't dislike her for having a child. Hesheng is too far away. What should we do if something happens to Xiaojuan's marriage? I just want to marry far away so that Chen Haijun won't bother her. Don't tell her about marrying her to Hesheng. Let her go back to Chen's house and take good care of herself first. We are secretly sending her to Hesheng. Send it over. Can the Chen family make her feel better? Don't you know how to go over and take care of me? Chen Haijun beat my daughter like this and wants to let go. How can such a good thing happen? Then you take Xiao Wan over to make a fuss. The whole village will know that Chen Haijun beat his new wife. The miscarriage was left in the hospital, and after the trouble, they had to kill the chickens and ducks to keep Xiao Wan alive. Ning Erlong's abacus was crackling. Chen Haijun had no idea that he was in danger. At this moment, he had returned home. Chen's mother was sitting in the main room crying. Chen's father stared at Chen Haijun and grabbed the cigarette pole. He hit Chen Haijun hard several times. In order to get you a wife, you bastard, I begged people everywhere to get the money. Now that I don't have the child, all my money has been wasted. I just felt like my head was burning. Chen Haijun's voice became softer and quieter as he spoke. In the end, it was hard to hear what he was saying. He was also very aggrieved. He just kicked him and the child was gone. Mother Chen hurriedly protected her son. Don't scold him, father. Ningwan seems to be a good child bearer. I will go to the hospital to take care of her early tomorrow morning. When she recovers, I will give Xiaojun a baby. Father Chen sighed. Oh. This is the only way. You two were kicked in the head by a donkey and you ran away from the hospital just like that. If Ningwan takes this time to inform her parents, we will have a good harvest. Chen Haijun hurriedly said, her parents don't want to see her at all. It's weird that they can take care of her. Besides, when we left, the doctor said that she had fainted. Now I can only hope that Ning Erlong and the others don't know about this, so go to bed and go there early tomorrow. Father Chen took a few puffs of his dry cigarette, stood up and walked towards the house. This night was so noisy that no one had a good night's sleep. Chen Haijun took Chen Haijun to the hospital on his bicycle before dawn. As soon as he arrived at the hospital entrance, he bumped into Ning Erlong. Ning Erlong picked up an infusion pole and threw it at Chen Haijun. In front of Ning Erlong, both Chen Haijun and Chen's mother were honest. After being hit several times, Chen Haijun did not dare to fight back. After getting angry, Ning Erlong immediately reached out to Chen Haijun and said, "Bring me the money. Xiao Wan was hospitalized last night, paid 20. It should be given. Xiao Wan is a member of our Chen family. She is hospitalized, so we should pay for it." Mother Chen quickly took out 20 yuan and handed it to Ning Erlong. Fortunately, she found someone to borrow some money when she went out today. If he couldn't get Jianning, Erlong would have to beat his own son. After accepting Jianning, Erlong immediately drove people away. "Get out. Ziajuan's mother will stay in the hospital to take care of her. You are not needed here." He lost 20 yuan as soon as he came. Chen Haijun was already a little angry, but now he actually told him to get out, and immediately said with a pinched neck, "Dad, Xiao Wan is my mother-in-law." 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 45. You still know that she is your mother-in-law. When you left her in the hospital last night, how could you not remember that she is your mother-in-law? He Hua came down from upstairs and grabbed Chen Haijun's collar and shouted, "Get up, everyone, come and see. This man is a beast. He beat his wife until she had a miscarriage, sent her to the hospital and found out that the child was gone. He left my daughter and ran away. Ziajun, let's go back first." Chen's mother blushed and dragged Chen Haijun away. There were so many people in the hospital, and if they really made a fuss, their family would be completely embarrassed. Old Lu's family in Shanghe village is also very lively at the moment. Wang Ziyukan, Aunt Yang, and their 3 aunts have been busy in the yard for a long time. Since there is no need to peel apricots due to caustic soda, everyone's speed is much faster. Boil a pot of caustic soda. Cut the apricots in half, pour them down and stir them. After the skins are peeled off, pour them into cold water and wash them clean. Put them into a glass bottle that has been sterilized by high temperature. Add the boiled soup to the pot. Steam. I heard that Ning Wan had a miscarriage last night by Chen Haijun. Chen Haijun is really nothing. As soon as he heard that Ning Wan had a miscarriage, he immediately dragged his mother and ran away. Wang Ziyukan glanced at the 2 women who were chatting animatedly. "Who did you listen to? Ning Wan just got married yesterday. How could they start a fight?" Aunt Yang also said aloud, "What Jaime said, Ning Wan called their small shop in the middle of the night last night, crying and begging for Jaime to bring a letter to Ning Erlong. Something really happened. Then Chen Haijun is nothing." Wang Ziyukan frowned. She was very angry that Ning Wan asked Chen Haijun to frame Ning 11, but now that Ning Wan encountered such a thing, she still felt some sympathy in her heart. Of Zionan, a shout came from outside the door, and Wang Ziyukan walked out of the yard subconsciously. Lu Shufang has arrived and is standing worriedly at the door of Lu Nan's house. Soon, Lu Nan came out in a wheelchair. When he saw Lu Shufang, a layer of frost appeared on his face. He didn't speak and just looked at her. Lu Shufang took a few steps back toward the door. "Zionan, come out. I have something to tell you." Lu Nan didn't say anything but cooperated and pushed the wheelchair out the door. The 2 of them stood at the door, and Lu Shufang lowered her voice and said, "You should know about Hong Hong's illness, right?" Lu Nan still remained silent. "Zionan, I know you are angry with Hong Hong, but things are really not what Ning 11 said. Hong Hong was diagnosed with nephritis half a year ago." Lu Shufang pulled up her sleeves and wiped her tears and continued crying. "Ning 11 knew about this, and she took the initiative to go to the hospital to match Hong Hong. After the matching results came out, she offered to marry you instead of Hong Hong. If she agrees, she won't donate her kidney to Hong Hong, so we have no choice but to marry her over. Afterwards, Hong Hong saw that you were having a hard time and saw you being bullied by her, So she teamed up with Chen Haijun to frame her and force her to divorce you. At that time, Hong Hong's situation was not so bad. It was because of you. She was beaten so badly by Ning 11, and then Ning 11 made a scene at home, so she became so ill. Wu, why is my Hong Hong so miserable, Wu of you? Lu Shufang cried, pulling her sleeves to wipe her tears. After a while, she controlled her emotions and continued to cry, Zionan, what did my Hong Hong do to you? In this way, you should know better than anyone whether you are in my heart or not. Don't believe it just because Ning 11 gives you some pillow air, Wu of you. Lu Nan was sitting in a wheelchair, watching Lu Shufang's performance in a leisurely manner. When she had finished her performance, she asked indifferently, there is something I have always been curious about. Lu Shufang asked with a puzzled look, what? They are both daughters, and they are also children of your family. Why is it that one is held in the palm of your hand when she is born, while the other is like a grass? The other is pampered and does not have to do anything, and the other is treated like a cow or horse and used hard. Just. Lu Shufang's face turned red and white at the question, and she asked after a long time, Zionan, don't listen to Ning 11's nonsense. We have always treated their sisters equally. Ning 11's girl has been very thoughtful since she was little. When she was a child, she loved to pretend to be pitiful in front of her grandparents, and now that she is married to your family, she comes to you and complains that we are not good to her. Since everyone is treated equally, why is it that one is called Hong Hong intimately and the other is called Hong Hong by his full name? This question made Lu Shufang think for a long time before she said, I'm used to it. Yes, it's called getting used to it. Lu Shufang, do you think all of us are scared? Everyone can see what you do to Xiao 11. Wang Ziyukan couldn't bear it anymore and came out of the room and strode up to Lu Nan. Xiao Nan, I don't care what you do to Xiao 11. Ning Hong, do you still have any thoughts? If you dare to hurt Xiao 11 for Ning Hong, don't call me second aunt in the future. How good that child is. Having done so much for her gangster, she would not allow him to break the child's heart. Second aunt, how could I hurt my wife for an outsider? Lu Nan was angry and funny. He was so angry that his second aunt didn't believe him, but he was laughing because his daughter-in-law's hard work for the past half-month was not in vain. The second aunt was, if you really like her, you really want to protect her. How can Hong Hong be an outsider? Zionan and you have been together for so many years. Do you really want to watch Hong Hong die for a girl who lies so much? A cold look flashed across Lu Nan's face, whether Ning Hong dies or not has nothing to do with me. I only know whoever dares to touch my wife will be killed by me. If you don't believe it, you can go back and ask Ning Hong. She should know what I am. I can tell you without hesitation what kind of person I am in the army. Even if I killed you and Ning Dalong today, no one would dare to touch me. Lu Shufang's chubby face sank, and she yelled bitterly, Lu Nan, do you still have a conscience? My Hong Hong loves you so much, and you actually want to let her die for an outsider. Lu Shufang, Ning 11 is a member of our Lu family. When she marries her, no one can touch her without our permission. Lu Zhengai also walked out of the room and glared at Lu Shufang angrily. How dare this woman say she treats both children the same? If she is really the same, she can do things like force that child, and she can stand here and treat his Zionan say this? Stay away, Zionan, a man won't hit you, but I dare to. Wang Ziyukan stood up on tiptoes and broke off a branch as thick as an arm from a big tree as if to hit Lu Shufang. Lu Shufang was so frightened that she ran away. When Lu Shufang disappeared, Wang Ziyukan threw away the wooden stick in his hand. This family is really not a thing. It's a good thing that Xiao 11 has always been raised by her grandpa and grandma, otherwise she would be just like them. Lu Zhengai hummed, no matter how you raise a child who is upright, he will not be crooked. If he is not upright, he will be ruined to the end if others lead him a little. Xiao Bei Lu Nan called into the room. After a while, Lu Bei came out of the room. Brother, Do you want to leave now? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 46. I guess the ox cart has already arrived, let's go, today is not a market day. Lunan called this morning to book Uncle Liu's ox cart. It is now the appointed time and the ox cart should have arrived. Seeing that the two brothers were going out again, Wang Ziyukan asked aloud, "Where are you two going?" Lunan explained aloud, "Xiao 11 wants to modify a tricycle. I will find someone to modify the tricycle for her." Wang Ziyukan nodded and warned again, "You bastard, I still say the same thing. If you dare to apologize to Xiao 11, I will be the first to disown you. Your aunt also said it when she left yesterday afternoon. Do you dare to do it for Ning, Hong hurt Xiao 11, and she doesn't recognize you either." Lunan glanced at his second aunt helplessly. "Second aunt, I am not a stone that cannot be covered with heat. He has been warmed up by her for a long time. How could he really not feel anything for such a good girl? Even if his heart is as hard as a stone, it is impossible for him to watch his wife being bullied and do nothing." Watching the two brothers walk away, Wang Ziyukan glanced at Lu Zhengai. "If Yang Yufeng can be like Ning 11, I'm afraid you will also be affected." Lu Zhengai smiled faintly. "Zionan sees things more clearly than me. Still can't let go of the jade piano. So what if I can't let it go? If I miss it, I miss it," Lu Zhengai said as he turned around and walked back into the house. Wang Ziyukan shook her head helplessly and walked towards her home. "Stop looking and get to work quickly." Aunt Yang and the other three smiled and hurriedly got busy. Whether it was Ning 1's miscarriage or Lu Shufang's visit to Lunan, Ning 11, who was setting up a stall outside the textile factory, didn't know anything at the moment. Ning 11 and Zhang Ying were the busiest during the time when the textile factory was off work every day. When they are busy, the two of them will be free, and Zhang Ying will take the initiative to urge Ning 11 to read a book quickly. Ning 11 sat in the open space behind the stall and read a book seriously. After this period of review, the forgotten knowledge was retrieved. "Where's Sister Ning?" Lao Zhang, who was selling sweet potatoes next to him, walked up to Ning 11 with a smile. "Brother Zhang," Ning 11 greeted the other party in a friendly manner. Lao Zhang took out the cigarette and lit it, squatting on the ground. "Brother Zhang, I'm pregnant and can't bear the smell of cigarettes. Can you?" Ning 11 smiled lightly and subconsciously covered her mouth and nose. The smell of dry cigarettes was so strong that she couldn't stand it. I'm sorry," Lao Zhang hurriedly put out the dry cigarette, smiled honestly at Ning 11, glanced at the stall owners around him and didn't pay attention to them, and then whispered, "Sister Ning, Lao Zhou, who sells groceries, is here to get some small fish from you. Let's buy some dried and spicy strips, right?" Ning 11 smiled and saw that Lao Zhang didn't answer. She didn't quite understand what Lao Zhang wanted to do, and she didn't know how he knew about it. Lao Zhang explained with a smile, "I overheard him and Sister Zhang saying that they wanted to order 40 kilograms of goods each, so I guessed that he wanted to order dried fish and spicy strips." Yes, now that she heard it, Ning 11 didn't hide it and admitted it openly. "Sister Ning, I have 2 children who are studying and 2 elderly people in their 80s to take care of. It's so hard for me to take out the sweet potatoes at home to exchange for some small money. Now the sweet potatoes at home are also sold out. Next time I don't know how to make money to support my family anymore." This Lao Zhang wanted to wholesale spicy strips and dried fish from him. She understood Lao Zhang's intention, but Ning 11 didn't express it too much. She just sat quietly and waited for Lao Zhang to continue talking. After talking about the situation at home, Lao Zhang rubbed his hands and said with a pleading expression, "Sister Ning, I see that your business of spicy strips and dried fish is quite good, Can I also get some goods from you? That's it. Ning 11 hesitated and pondered for a while. Brother Zhang, why don't you do the same as Brother Zhou and give it a try with 10 kilograms each? Lao Zhang immediately thanked Ning 11 excitedly. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brother Zhang, don't thank me yet. Listen to me first. If you want to get goods from me, you must abide by my rules. First, your goods cannot be sold in Yao Township. Second, with the current situation due to the weather, my spicy strips can only be stored for 3 days at most. If the goods you came to pick up the day before are not sold the next day, you can only eat them yourself or throw them away. You can't ruin my sign because of saving. Lao Zhang hurriedly vowed, okay, this is the market you opened. I definitely can't come here to disturb it. The most taboo thing about selling food is old goods, and I definitely won't sell old goods. Ning 11 continued, this is how I get the goods here. The price for goods under 30 kilograms is 9 cents, and the price for goods over 30 kilograms is 8 cents. Brother Zhang, you have just started doing it. My suggestion is that you take your time and get each one first, go out and give it a try. In addition, you can learn from Brother Zhou and let the customers taste it first. You have also tasted my food, so you should know that you will buy my food after you have tasted it. Sure, let's get 10 kilograms each first. Lao Zhang nodded happily and asked anxiously, Sister Ning, are you ready today? I'll come and get it in the afternoon. Okay, Ning 11 agreed and told Lao Zhang her home address. The two agreed to pick up the goods at 2 o'clock. Not long after, Lao Zhou came on a cart. In a few days, Lao Zhou had already made a lot of money. His face was full of smiles every day. He looked at Ning 11 and Zhang Ying with the kindest eyes as if they were seeing relatives. Sister Ning. Lao Zhou parked the car on the side of the road, said hello to Zhang Ying, walked to Ning 11 with a smile, squatted on the ground and said in a low voice, Sister Ning, all the 30 bottles of canned fruits I took yesterday were replaced. It became food. Haha. I knew that exchanging food for food would be a good way. It should be that in a year or two the method of exchanging food for food will become popular all over the country. Now she is just using this method in advance so that the people can consume the endless food. It can also improve life while providing old food. Lao Zhou continued, Sister Ning, I'm going to get canned fruit this afternoon. I want 100 bottles this time. That stuff can be kept for a while. Don't worry if you can't sell it for a while. Okay, Ning 11 agreed with a smile. I will order 70 kilograms each this afternoon. Ning 11 still smiled and nodded in agreement. Sister Ning, I have a few buddies who also want to get goods from you. They have told me several times. Can you see if you can bring them over to talk to you? Finally, another salesman came to the door. Ning 11 nodded with a smile, you can tell them my rules clearly. If they don't object, I can come with you in the afternoon. I will make more spicy strips and dried fish today. If you come, if you have a good deal, you can go out and try some dried fish and spicy strips. You can also get some canned apricots. The price is still 2 cents a bottle. You need to pay a deposit of the same amount to get the goods. Sure. Lao Zhou nodded with a smile, chatted with Ning 11 for a few more words, then stood up and left. Xiao 11 is ready to leave, Zhang Ying shouted and started to pack things. Ning 11 put away the books and went over to help pack them away. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 47. Chapter 47, Being Warmed Up. Before the two of them finished cleaning up, Liu Bei pushed Lu Nan over. As soon as she saw Lu Nan, Ning 11 asked, how are you doing? Someone will deliver the car to you in 3 days. Not only does it require a bike to be installed, but it also has to be helped to modify it, and it also has to be delivered to your doorstep. Lu Nan, you are indeed getting thicker and thicker skinned. Let's go, the four of them walked towards the entrance of the town together. Lunan made an appointment with the ox cart master to wait at the entrance of the town. Since it was a chartered cart, they waited for 4 people to get on the cart. The ox cart was not waiting for anyone else and drove towards Shanghe village on its own. As soon as he got in the car, Liu Bei approached Ning 11 and started making a small report. "Sister-in-law, Aunt Liu is at home today." Lu Nan glared at Liu Bei. "How can a grown man learn to tell a snitch?" Liu Bei snorted coldly. "They want to harm my sister-in-law, but I can't say anything anymore." Ning 11 smiled knowingly. "Come and ask your brother to persuade me to transplant Ning Hong's kidney." "She said bad things about you. She said that you knew Ning Hong was sick and took the initiative to go to the hospital to do the matching. You also used a kidney transplant to force them to agree to let you marry my brother instead of Ning Hong." Liu Bei told Ning 11 everything that happened this morning. After speaking, he quickly added, "Sister-in-law, don't worry. Not only are my dad, aunt, and second aunt on your side, but I am also on your side here. If my brother dares to help Ning Hong, I won't have him as my brother." Looking for a fight, Lu Nan raised his hand and slapped Liu Bei on the head. He was either really angry or quite depressed. He listened to him in everything, always put him first and admired him. Xiao Ben actually turned against him for his little wife. "Why are you hitting Xiao Bei?" Ning 11 glared at Lu Nan. "Stare at me." Lu Nan looked at Ning 11 dumbfounded. This girl was becoming less and less afraid of him. She showed her face last night and refused to let him hug her, and she was still glaring at him today. Ning 11 was not afraid as he continued, "You don't know how powerful you are. What if you injure Xiao Bei? He will take the college entrance examination next year. You want to harm him." He felt that he was abandoned by everyone, but he had always said that he would never hurt his wife for outsiders. "Sister-in-law, I'm not trying too hard." Liu Bei patted his head and chuckled. He leaned close to Ning 11 and whispered in her ear, "My aunt threatened me when we went out today. I said at that time that he couldn't cover it up hot stones." Ning 11 blinked, which meant that he was attracted by her. Didn't he not care about her? A stream of warm currents flow out from the heart, warming the whole body. Liu Bei was pulled away by Lu Nan. He held her hand and whispered, "Do you want to hear another piece of gossip?" Ning 11 looked at him with a smile. "Are you still gossiping? If you're interested, I can chat." "Tell me." He knows what she is interested in? Ning Wan was aborted by Chen Haijun last night. Knowing that the child could not be saved, Chen Haijun left Ning Wan and left. In the end, Ning Wan called back to the village and asked Ning Erlong and his wife to go to the hospital. When Ning Wan encountered these things again, Ning 11 was still very happy. This is indeed good news. Zhang Ying felt happy when she heard the news and immediately said, "The Ning family has done too many immoral things, and everyone will be punished. It's not natural for them not to receive retribution." Ning 11 smiled and narrowed her eyes. She wanted to see how they could go smoothly in this life. At 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Lao Zhou showed up at Ning 11's house on time with 5 salesmen. They were very excited and said a lot of good things, and everyone said they would abide by Ning 11's rules. After the two parties reached an agreement, Ning 11 first recovered the food sent by Lao Zhou, settled the commission with Lao Zhou, prepared the goods, and weighed 10 kilograms of spicy strips and dried fish for each of the 5 people. Everyone also liked Ning 11's canned food. "We each also got some cans. The salesmen here haven't left yet, and Lao Zhang has also arrived." When Ning 11 weighs spicy strips and dried fish for him, he sees that everyone is getting canned apricots. After asking about it, he also wants to get some canned food to try. Ning 11 was worried that sales would be slow on his first day out, so she only brought him 30 bottles. It was almost 4 o'clock when everyone was sent away. Zhang Ying had already prepared the spicy strips and dried fish that she would buy tomorrow. She walked out of the kitchen, wiped her hands and took a look at the canned apricots that had not much left. "Xiao 11, We need to set up 2 stoves to make more canned fruits. Ning 11 thought for a while and asked aloud, how many ripe apricots are left in the ground? Your second brother said that he picked it today, and he can still pick it for 1 day at most, Zhang Ying replied, and then said hurriedly, your second brother came back at noon and told me that several fruit farmers in Sci-fi village came to him and wanted to sell the apricots in the field. Come on, there were a lot of things at home yesterday and he didn't have time to tell you about this. We can't sell much for the fruits from our own fruit trees alone. We can ask my second brother to spread the word, and the surrounding fruit farmers can send over ripe apricots and recycle them according to the recycling price on the market. Arranged everything, took out a bunch of medicinal materials and sat in the main room to grind them. I'll come. Seeing her struggling to grind the medicinal materials, Lunan immediately went to get the stone mortar. What are you getting it for? Ahem. It's a facial mask. These medicinal materials are reserved for making facial masks. Before, she had to do everything herself. She was so busy every day that her feet never touched the ground. Now that she has hired workers, she feels relaxed. She can finally do these. The medicinal materials were taken out to make a facial mask. Lunan stopped what he was doing and raised his head to look at her. Can you use these now? Don't worry, it won't hurt them. She was more nervous about the baby than he was, so naturally she wouldn't use anything harmful to the child. Lunan felt relieved after hearing what she said. He lowered his head and continued to grind the facial mask. Xiao 11, when I was in the imperial capital, I saw some people using skincare products made from traditional Chinese medicine. Can you make it? If you can make it for yourself, you can make it? Down. Yes, but the required medicinal materials are relatively expensive, and it costs a lot of money to make them. It's not like she hasn't thought about making some traditional Chinese medicine skincare products to make herself beautiful, but now she doesn't have so much time and is reluctant to spend money. You spend the money you earn. A little girl's hands are as rough as those of a 70 or 80-year-old woman. You don't know how distressed you are, but I feel sorry for you. What did he say? Is there something wrong with your ears? He actually said he felt sorry for her. Ning 11's face turned red again, and her heart was like a flower blooming with words, filled with the fragrance of happiness. Seeing the smile on her face, Lunan felt even more distressed. How could his silly girl be so easily satisfied? He just said, I feel bad. Is it worth her being so happy? Then I'll go to Uncle Chen's place tomorrow to prepare some medicinal materials. Since he would feel distressed, she would be kind to herself. As he said, she spent the money she earned. Buy the best one. If it's not enough, take my salary as well. Lunan smiled fondly. All the money from doing business with Lu He was with Lunan. They haven't paid any cents yet. They agreed to wait until it was full. After dividing the money a month later, Ning 11 had more than 900 yuan in her hand, which was enough to buy medicinal materials. He specifically added that it was not enough, and he also took his salary, because he did not want her to have any worries and spend money boldly. End of this chapter. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 48. OK. Ning 11 smiled broadly, her eyes forming 2 crescent moons, and the joy on her face seemed to overflow from the pear dimples at the corners of her mouth. Seeing her happy, the smile on his face did not diminish, and every smile line was filled with rare favor. In the afternoon, Lao Zhou and the others took out the canned fruit and it was sold out within an hour. In just one afternoon, all the salesmen around knew that Lao Zhou and the others had exchanged grain for canned fruit, and they all came to ask questions. Show the address of Ning 11's home. The next day, as soon as Ning 11 and Zhang Ying went out, a large number of salesmen poured into Shanghe village and asked about Ning 11's house. Lao Zhou also came here early today. He never thought that canned fruits were so popular in the countryside. At first, he thought about getting more canned fruits from Ning 11 when he came over in the afternoon, but he heard that there were many salesmen. He went to Shanghe village before dawn. He was so anxious that he immediately rode a cart to Shanghe village. If all the cans were snatched up by other sellers, where would he go to make money? "Excuse me, is Miss Ning Zining here?" "Excuse me, is Zhang Ying and Zhang's sister here?" When Lao Zhou arrived, a group of salesmen were crowding at the door of Ning 11's house, asking all kinds of questions. Lao Zhuyi saw Lu Nan at the door, and hurriedly pulled away the crowd and stepped forward with a smile to say hello, "Good morning, little Lu." Lu Nan nodded towards old Zhou. "Brother Zhou, you came here so early today." Lao Zhou smiled and said the reason for his visit: "All the canned fruits I brought yesterday were sold out. I specially sent the food to you and picked up some more canned fruits." "Boss, can we get some canned fruit?" "Boss, can you get some for me?" "Boss, I'll get some too, I was the first one here." Lao Zhuyi opened his mouth, and the others immediately started talking and clamoring to get some canned fruits from Lu Nan. "Everyone, be quiet first," Lu Nan shouted. After everyone calmed down, he continued, "We have almost 1,000 cans of canned fruits in stock. You can get them if you want. Our cans are mainly sent to the countryside. In exchange for food, the food exchanged will be sent back directly, and you will get 2 cents for each bottle sold. If you have no objections, please line up and I will distribute the goods for you immediately. In addition, when you go to the countryside to sell canned fruits, if you see anyone with ripe fruits, apricots, pears, oranges, peaches, apples, hawthorns, you can buy it for us later." When everyone lined up outside as Lu Nan said, Lu Nan first recovered the grain brought by Lao Zhou and settled the commission for him. After collecting the money, Lao Zhou immediately said with a smile, "Xiao Lu, give me another 200 bottles today." "Okay, Brother Zhou, you are a regular customer of our family. I have opened a green channel for you today. After today, if you come here again, you will have to queue up with everyone else. Otherwise, it will not be fair to others." Lu Nan smiled and said old Zhou K said something and took everyone to Secretary Lu's house to prepare goods for old Zhou. "Understood." Lao Zhou smiled and nodded, "Xiao Lu, I won't go to town today. I will come over at 2 o'clock in the afternoon to pick up dried fish and spicy strips. Today I still need 70 kilograms each." "Okay." Lu Nan immediately wrote down the spicy note that Lao Zhou asked for in his notebook, so as not to forget it later. After Lao Zhou left, Lu Nan began to register everyone one by one and pack canned fruits. After a while, the 3 helping ants also came. Seeing the long queue at the door, they stood at the door a little at a loss. Wang Ziyukan called out, and the 3 of them hurriedly entered the house, put on aprons and started making canned fruits. Lu Nan asked Lu Bei to call Lu Zhengai over and ask Lu Zhengai to register everyone and pack canned fruits. He pushed a wheelchair to the village and found about 10 people to come over to prepare for increasing production. Oh, and he had to call and order 10,000 cans. Glass bottle. When Ning 11 and Zhang Ying came back in the afternoon, Lu Nan had already arranged everything. Now there were more than a dozen workers at home. Ning 11 did not continue to do everything herself, and arranged for 3 ants to come over to help make spicy strips and dried fish. Zhang Ying personally guided the frying process. As for the seasoning, Ning 11 prepared it in a basin in another room. After the dried fish was fried, she poured in the seasoning and stir-fried for a while before it was ready. In this way, you can make spicy strips and dried fish at home in the morning, and those who come to get canned fruits can also bring some spicy strips and dried fish. Canned fruit attracted countless salesmen as soon as it was launched, but Ning 11 did not give up selling spicy strips and dried fish at a stall. Canned fruit can only be made for a few months at most, and it will no longer be possible after the fruit is taken off the shelves. They still have to make money from spicy strips and dried fish. Business was at its peak during the hours when the textile factory was off work. Ning 11 and Zhang Ying were so busy that they couldn't touch the ground. Secretary Zhou Tongzhou appeared by their stall on a modified tricycle and saw the two of them busy. He sat quietly on the tricycle without disturbing them. After all the guests left, he jumped out of the car and walked towards the two of them. Zhou Tong looked at the girl in front of him and asked with a smile, "Are you Ning 11? Ning 11 nodded politely towards the other party. "Who are you?" "Secretary Zhou." "You are Secretary Zhou." Zhang Ying recognized Zhou Tong and greeted with a smile, "Hello, Secretary Zhou, I am Xionan's second sister-in-law, and this is Xionan's wife Ning 11. It turns out that this is Secretary Zhou." Ning 11 quickly nodded towards him, "Hello, Secretary Zhou. Sister-in-law, you don't have to be so polite to me. I'm just here to deliver the tricycle for you. You need to take a look at the tricycle first." He pointed to the tricycle next to him in the corridor. Ning 11 walked over and took a look. It was modified according to her drawings, and the modification was very strong. "Thank you, Secretary Zhou, for sending the car over for me. How much is the total cost of the car? I will replenish it for you. There are a lot of things added to this car, and the modification fee is 10 yuan. Ning 11 took the cloth bag from Zhang Ying and asked, "Where is the bicycle?" while counting the money. Zhou Tong smiled and waved his hand, "The bicycle is an idle one from my family. I don't need any money." "How can this be done? Lunan is not here. How can Ning 11 accept gifts from others with peace of mind?" and said quickly, "Secretary Zhou must give money." "Sister-in-law, I really don't need it, but I came here today because I really want to ask you for help with something." At this time, a customer came to buy spicy strips. Ning Zizang and Zhang Ying looked at the stall and walked to the side with Zhou Tong. "What does Secretary Zhou want from me?" "Sister-in-law, how are you doing with your canned fruit? It's been a few days and I haven't heard of you going to the grain station to sell grain. We just sent out the cans yesterday. If my estimate is correct, we will have to deliver food to the grain station this afternoon at the latest. I just sent it out yesterday. Can you really see the results so quickly?" Zhou Tong looked at Ning 11 with a smile. Why did he feel that Ning 11's words were a little heavy-handed? Ning 11 dared to say this, of course because of her confidence. "Actually, I had already sent out a batch the day before yesterday. At that time, I only sent out a few dozen bottles, and they were sold out in less than 2 hours. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 49. Zhou Tong raised his hand and adjusted his glasses. "Sister-in-law, I came here today to actually ask you to buy some apricots. My hometown is from Tan Village. The apricots planted on hundreds of acres of land in Tan Village are currently unsaleable. Sister-in-law, since we need apricots, see if you can buy some apricots from Quitan Village. No matter if you need more or less, you can help solve some problems." "Secretary Zhou, my family is indeed short of fruit at the moment, but it is not practical to go to Tonkin to buy apricots. The road to Tonkin is not easy to walk. The only car our family can use now is this tricycle. Riding such a tricycle to enter the mountain is not an easy task. Each time we go there, we can only pull one cart of apricots out, which is a waste of time and manpower." Ning 11 looked apologetic. Zhou Tong had helped them and the request was not excessive, but she did have practical difficulties. Zhou Tong waved his hand and said immediately and proudly, "This is not a problem. There are 3 farm trucks in the town. These 3 trucks can be used by my sister-in-law at any time. Each vehicle will be assigned a driver for my sister-in-law." Zhou Tong was already so arrogant. Ning 11 could not refuse but could only nod and agree, "Okay, I'll ask my second brother to come over and have a look tomorrow." Zhou Tong immediately smiled and said, "Then I will arrange for someone to pick you up tomorrow." Zhou Tong wanted to arrange a car for them, but Ning 11 agreed with a smile without refusing. Zhang Ying had already packed up the stall. After Zhou Tong left, the two of them put the baskets on the tricycle. Zhang Ying turned over and sat on the car. Xiao 11, get in the car and I will take you. Second sister-in-law, are you sure you can ride? Although a tricycle has 3 wheels, it is still easy to overturn if you don't control the direction well. Zhang Ying smiled and nodded, yes. I used to ride a bicycle when I was working in the production team. A tricycle has 1 more wheel than a bicycle, so I can definitely handle it. Hearing what Zhang Ying said, Ning 11 got into the car with peace of mind. Sister-in-law, let's go to the farmer's market. We've run out of meat and eggs. Okay, Zhang Ying responded, and took Ning 11 to the farmer's market on a tricycle, bought a bunch of food, and left Yao Township. With these 2 or 3-wheeled vehicles, the two of them felt much more relaxed. Zhang Ying was very happy and hummed a little tune along the way. Ning 11 stretched out her legs and sat in the cart with a smile on her face. Coming out of Yaoxiang town, you have to go through a rugged mountain road. When you pass a corner, 2 people suddenly come out in front of you. Ning 11 subconsciously looks back, and 2 people also come out from behind. The appearance and clothing of these 4 people are similar. The kind of second-rate person who hangs out in society. Ning 11's heart trembled suddenly. She subconsciously put her hand on the corner of her clothes, lowered her voice and said to Zhang Ying, second sister-in-law, I will attract their attention in a moment. If you find an opportunity, you run away. What are you talking about? Zhang Ying grabbed the handle of the tricycle and tensed her body, ready to rush behind to protect Ning 11 at any time. If something happened, she would definitely protect Ning 11. Where are the 2 young wives going? Little wife, don't be in a hurry to leave, stay and play with us. Zhang Ying put on the brakes of the tricycle and jumped out of the car. What do you want to do? What we can do is play with my sister. The 4 people were approaching the tricycle step by step with smiles on their faces. Ning 11 got off the tricycle and stood with Zhang Ying. Zhang Ying pulled Ning 11 behind him and looked at the 4 people warily. You'd better not mess around, otherwise don't blame me for being rude to you. How can I be rude? Sister, why don't you take off your clothes first and then be rude to your brother? Haha, yes, why don't you lie down on the ground and be rude to your brother? Haha, you are so bad. The 4 people laughed wildly and approached the 2 of them step by step. Zhang Ying picked up the wooden stick that he usually used to rest on when he was tired, swung it at the 4 people, and shouted at the top of his voice, here comes someone, help. You're being a hooligan, help. Sister, why are you so anxious? I'll wait until my sister calls me. They were not afraid of Zhang Ying shouting, and pounced directly on the 2 of them. This place had no front and no shops. Except when people were going to the market, people would pass by. Normally, not even a ghost could be seen. Ning 11 also grabbed the wooden stick and smashed it against the hand that was reaching towards her. The man immediately retracted his hand to avoid the falling stick. The little beauty is still a little pepper, and that's just what my brother likes. Get away from me, Ning 11 shouted angrily, turned sideways and took a step forward to stand with Zhang Ying, waving the wooden stick in her hand vigorously. Help! Come here! Someone is playing hooligan, come here! Zhang Ying continued to wave his eyes and screamed sharply. It's so noisy, do it, let me hear you clearly, don't kill people, especially the little one, I want her to change money. One of the men in black short sleeves laughed mischievously. Then he stretched out his magic claw towards Zhang Ying again. Get out, ah! Zhang Ying hit the hand. Her attention was attracted by this man, and the man next to her quickly rushed up and hugged Zhang Ying. The man in black short sleeves also immediately stepped forward and grabbed Zhang Ying's hair. The 2 of them dragged Zhang Ying to the haystack nearby and forced her to the ground. Second sister-in-law Ning 11's face was pale and she wanted to rush to help Zhang Ying, but was stopped by the remaining 2 men. She looked at the 2 of them warily, tried to calm down, grabbed the wooden stick and took a few steps back away from the tricycle. She could not destroy the tricycle, let alone let the tricycle hit her and hurt her Jinbeo and Nianbeo. Little beauty, come here, come into my brother's arms, I will love you so much. A man stepped forward and grabbed Ning 11's arm. Get away, Ning 11 growled, opened her mouth and bit the hand that the man offered her. Ah, you bitch, you dare to bite me, the man screamed, cursed angrily, raised his hand and slapped Ning 11. Ning 11 was beaten and took 2 steps back. She struggled to stabilize her body. Her ears were buzzing. She shook her groggy head and glanced towards Zhang Ying. She saw the two. A man was tearing Zhang Ying's clothes apart, his eyes red. The man in black short-sleeved shirts took the time to look over here and saw that they had not dealt with Ning 11 yet. He shouted angrily, 2 idiots can't even handle a woman. Hurry up, the boss is still waiting for us, send it over. Who asked you to come? Ning 11 frowned and looked at the 2 people in front of her. Her target was her. Who were they going to give her to? Come into my arms, and I will tell you who asked me to come. The man in front of him rushed towards Ning 11 again. Ning 11 gritted her teeth and used all her strength to hit the man on the head. 80s, after marrying a disabled man, I am really fragrant. Author, Nostalgic Head. Chapter 50. Ouch, the man screamed in pain, covered his head and took 2 steps back. Another man took advantage of Ning 11 to hit his companion and rushed up to grab Ning 11's arm. He tripped her hard and threw her to the ground. He jumped up and straddled her and gave her a vicious slap. You little is really exciting. I like you as a fierce person. The more you resist, the more excited I am. Let me go. Ning 11's eyes were scarlet, staring at the man in front of her. The face in front of her overlapped with another face as fast as the naked eye could see. Her eyes were filled with bloodlust and killing intent, and overwhelming hatred lingered around her. Red bloodshot threads appeared in the depths of her eyes, and her frightened eyes instantly turned red. Handlessly grabbed the stone at hand and threw it at the man who was already biting her in her neck. Once, twice, 3 times, all the hatred fell on the stone in his hand. Shendaji, you beast, don't touch me. You bastard, trash, you dare to hurt my babies, I'm going to kill you, kill you. I'll kill you, you beast. Damn. This woman is crazy, why don't you come and help? The man grinned in pain and tried to escape, but his neck was suddenly strangled tightly. Damn it, why is this woman so strong? The man on the side was frightened and stood there for a long time without being able to recover. The woman's eyes looked like a demon rising from hell. It was so scary. The hot blood splashed into Ning 11's eyes, dyeing her eyes red. She instantly regained her clarity, and the Shendaji in front of her also disappeared. You can't kill people, you can't keep Lunan in the dark, and you can't let your baby have a murderous mother on his back as soon as he is born. Ning 11 grabbed the man's hair and pushed him away. At this moment, the man was already stunned and unable to resist. She got up from the ground and walked step by step towards the man who had not yet recovered. What do you want to do? The man threatened, but his body unconsciously took 2 steps back. He glanced at his injured companion on the ground, and his head hurt slightly. Don't you want to play with me? Come on, Ning 11 continued to approach, and the man took 2 steps back. The man was so frightened that he took 2 steps back. He hit the dirt with his heel and fell to the ground. He was so frightened that he started to tremble. Even his voice sounded like he was crying, Brother June, this woman is crazy. Young lady, you're a loser who can't even handle a woman. The man in black short sleeves cursed and got up from Zhang Ying, looking for Ning 11 fiercely. He walked up to Ning 11 and clasped Ning 11's neck with his hands. Bitch, how dare you? Before he could finish his words, the man fell to the ground with a soft thud and became motionless. The man sitting on the ground was so frightened that he peed, You, what did you do to Brother June? Ning 11 glanced at the coward on the ground and quickly came to Jiang Ying's side. The silver needle in her hand plunged hard into the man's neck. Before the man had time to react, he fell softly onto Jiang Ying. "Go away, get away, don't touch me, let me go." Jiang Ying's eyes were red, and her hands were grabbing wildly. At this time, Jiang Ying was in an extremely embarrassed state. Her clothes had been torn, and the buttons of her trousers was ripped apart. Fortunately, it was quite timely. Ning 11's heavy heart felt a little better. She bent down and used a lot of strength to pull the man off Jiang Ying's body. "Sister-in-law, it's okay. Jiang Ying still hasn't woken up, and is still scratching frantically. Don't touch me, don't touch me." "Second sister-in-law, it's me, I'm Ning 11." Ning 11 managed to catch Jiang Ying's hands that were waving wildly. "Xiao 11. Jiang Ying's eyes gradually returned to clarity. When she saw the man who had fallen to the ground, she asked nervously, "What's wrong with them?" "I have fainted temporarily." "Second sister-in-law, please get up first." Ning 11 helped Jiang Ying sit up. When she came out to set up the stall, she deliberately hid 2 silver needles soaked in anesthetics on her body. If it weren't for these 2 silver needles, she can't imagine what the consequences will be. "Xiao 11, we have you." Jiang Ying threw herself into her arms and broke down crying. Ning 11 patted Jiang Ying's back and comforted her softly. "Second sister-in-law is okay, okay, don't cry anymore, everything is fine." After crying for a while, Jiang Ying finally stopped crying. Ning 11 helped Jiang Ying stand up and took out a coat from the backpack for Jiang Ying to put on. When they went out in the morning, it was very dewy, so the 2 of them usually put on long sleeves to cover their bodies. Ning 11 helped ask Jiang Ying to tidy up her messy hair. After comforting Jiang Ying, Ning 11 bent down to pick up the fruit knife that someone had dropped on the ground. She looked at the man who was still shivering on the ground and approached step by step. You, what do you want to do?" The man turned pale with fright, and it seemed that he couldn't stand up at all because his legs and feet were weak. Ning 11 stood in front of the man and looked at him condescendingly. "Who asked you to come?" No one." The man's head shook like a rattle. Ning 11 slowly squatted down in front of the man and gestured with the fruit knife in her hand. "If you like playing with women so much, do you think I should cut off your hand, or just cut it off?" The fruit knife suddenly moved to his crotch. The man was so frightened that he covered his important parts, and streams of yellow liquid flowed out uncontrollably again. "No, I am the only one in my family. My parents are still waiting for me to continue the family line. Let me ask you one last time, who asked you to come and what do they want you to do?" Ning 11 patted the man's hand in an important part with a fruit knife. "I'm not very patient. Don't force me to you. Brother dog asked us to come. Brother dog asked us to play. I'll catch you after we finish playing." Why did the man get up and kneel in front of Ning 11? "Don't kill me, don't maim me, he's just an errand boy, it's Brother June." "Yes, Brother June forced me to come here." "Who is Brother Dog?" Ning 11 frowned. She didn't know Brother Dog. Wang Ergu from Xiaowang village, he is quite famous in the number 1 middle school area, and we all listen to him. The first middle school area, could it be related to Chen Haijun? She remembered that Chen Haijun also hung out in that area. Wang Ergu is familiar with Chen Haijun. The man immediately retorted, "Chen Haijun is not even worthy of carrying Brother Dog's shoes. If it wasn't Chen Haijun, who could it be?" There was no way that Wang Ergu would cause trouble for her for no reason. "Xiao 11, let's go." Jiang Ying shivered as she sat on the tricycle. She looked at the 3 people who fell on the ground in horror. If one of them stood up, they still couldn't run away. "Next time you see me, get out of here. If you dare to provoke me again, I will make your family extinct." Ning 11 glared at the man fiercely, got up, and left on a tricycle. "She is afraid too. Although this person is a coward when she is awake, the two people whose heads were knocked open and knocked down are all tough. If those three people wake up and the silver needles in her hand are used up, she and Zhang Ying will it's really over. When she was about to leave the no man's land and enter a small village, Ning 11 parked her tricycle next to a stream and said, "Second sister-in-law, come down and wash yourself."